Good day. Welcome to episode 2 of Dashboard, B-O-R-E-D, just as another reminder so you know how we spell it. Fellas, how's it going?
Good.
Wonderful.
Good.
Good.
Welcome.
Yeah, we're recording this at 8:30 at night. There's some beer on the table, some Gatorade, some water. It's a classy sort of evening.
Only one of us has a problem.
Well, we didn't name that person, I think.
No. We'll keep it anonymous.
You can laugh in the mic. It's okay.
We can keep it anonymous.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that listened to the first episode. We're proud to say that we had nearly 50 streams. 50 people listened to us, and we're just 4 dudes in an office. So I feel good about that.
The cockpit, as you will.
I don't know if I like that.
All right.
Next.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Yeah. But I'm proud of that. I think 50 is pretty good. We've reached 300 people on Spotify, and I feel good. It's a good start. And thanks to everybody for sharing it on Instagram and talking about it. Let's jump right into our, let's loop around to last week's conversation, the Macan EV versus the Volkswagen ID Buzz. And we put a poll on Instagram. We shared it. It was a hugely controversial and polarizing poll, but I got nearly 200 responses, which was a record for me in terms of polls. Interestingly enough, the data lands that 65% of the people, when presented with a $90,000 budget, thought the Macan made sense, Macan EV. 35%, actually I think maybe closer to 37%, preferred the Buzz, which, well, let's be frank, it stunned me. I'm thoughts?
I think we'd all agree on that.
Yeah.
We all said it was a bust, that thing. So we'll see where it goes.
And I mean, we can, I think, say this openly that your page is Porsche focused, right? And so when you put a Porsche poll up, and you put the Macan, it's sort of low hanging fruit. So I too, I was shocked to see that. I think just over 50 people said, "No, I'd have the ID Buzz. It's cool." And to Mike's point, I guess maybe we got it a bit wrong.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I would have thought it would have been a 90-10, 80-20 max split.
I sort of thought it was going to land like that.
We'll see where the money lands.
Yeah. And I do think I purposely posted like the kind of generic marketing picture of the car. And I thought that might, I don't know, I thought that Porsche people might, I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, ignore that. I thought they might kind of look at this and go, oh, it's boring. But ironically enough, they still can't be towed from the brand, even though they all complain about this car in the background. They all don't like it.
Correct.
So I got a lot of DMs complaining about it, and basically a lot of people also telling me that you could never buy that car for $90,000. And I think we're all on the same page that we agree with that, true. But it was more of a hypothetical. Anyway, interesting data. So we'll try to put more polls up as we have more controversial subjects, but they're all part of the Volkswagen family, so they have your money no matter what.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right?
They're very good at that.
Yeah. Let's jump on to the next subject that we had on our list. We want to talk about the GTD Mustang, the Ford GTD Mustang.
American muscle.
Yes. Hit me with what your thoughts.
Sub 7 Mustang? Come on. Yes, please.
I love it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think, to be honest, I don't know as much as I should about it. I mean, I know it's basically designed and built to compete with the GT3 RS. I know that Jim is a massive race guy.
When you say Jim, you're referring to Jim Farley,
correct?
CEO of Ford.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
The fact that they can pull it off, and it's one of, is it 6, 7 production cars right now that's sub 7? It's amazing that they took it on and they did it. So, I mean, I think it looks badass. If we just want to talk about aesthetics, it looks amazing.
Well, let's start with aesthetics, because I think there's no question about it. It's a good looking car. I also have to go on the record and admit that I actually like the lower levels of the Mustang now. I kind of look at them and I think, geez, they're pretty good looking. They've really improved that car.
Someone on my street has, well, actually it's 2 different people, but anyway, so between 2 neighbors, there is a Shelby GT500, which looks and sounds amazing. The other neighbor had a Mach 1 in that sort of cement color with the orange graphic pack.
Nice
I think it
car.
looked great.
Yeah.
It appears that they've dealt it for a dark horse, which is in that, it's called burnt amber, I believe, which is like a blue, purple. It's got some like rusty, metallic flake in it. I'm with you. I think that is also a fantastic looking car. Sounds good, and it's $80,000.
What kind of horsepower on Dark Horse? I don't even know. Is it a 500 horsepower car?
It comes with a drift brake.
Well, obviously that's useful for me in my suburbs here in the subdivision.
I think it's just under 500, but I don't know.
Oh,
that for a fact.
yeah, put a supercharger on that. You got to be knocking on 8, I would assume.
But let's talk about the price. For the price, great car.
You're talking about the GTD or the Dark Horse?
GT. I think
I'm not
GTD.
sure.
So
What is the GTD worth?
300
US?
Oh, for sure.
US.
I mean, it's a good chunk of money. I think this, in my mind, this car brings up an interesting principle, and that's sort of brand pride.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
I would view myself, I think if you asked me 3 years ago, I would have told you that I was like obsessed with Porsche and it had to be a Porsche. My pride is fading out, and I've started to kind of, my eye wanders, and I look at the Mustang. Now, if I was even remotely able to buy one, it would be pretty awesome. But I look at it and I'm like, I don't have pride, man. I would happily drive that.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty awesome.
I would too. Going back, that's my lineage though, is American muscle cars. That's where I came from and raised on. So I like it. But being a Porsche guy, I have to like this Mustang for my dollars.
Yeah.
Interestingly, this week, I think we all know who Misha. I want to say it's Shudrin, but it's Chowdhury perhaps.
The guy from the Nürburgring
guy.
Yeah, the laps over top of each other.
Correct.
Yes.
That was super cool.
Yeah. So what Dylan's referring to is a sort of overlaid split screen video of the new the GTD going around the ring, and then a GT3 RS underneath of it. And of course, we're talking about 250 horsepower less in a GT3 RS. Cornering speed's higher just because of the aero. And I think the conclusion was, and again, maybe track conditions are slightly different, but the GT3 RS overall was the quicker car still. And I suppose that's a bit of a head scratcher because, I mean, that's what they're going up against and it's all that horsepower. But, wait and see if they have the video I watched on Ford's official thing. They just basically said, look, we think there's more time in the car, more to come. So I guess we'll see what this year brings. Maybe there's another hot lap in it.
Yeah, I did find that interesting. That's what they said. Yeah, the conditions weren't perfect. We're going for more. We'll be back.
Yep.
And I think they do. I think they got it. I think we're going to see some more hot laps.
I think it's an awesome car.
I think so.
I
I think
very
it
much
owns
enjoyed
the
the
road.
Ford marketing video they put out. And I feel at this moment, I really want to say that I have listened to multiple interviews with Jim Farley from Ford. And he strikes me as just like a good old car guy.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I like when you're working with a brand like Ford, I'm like, well, this just makes a ton of sense. And I'll make a reference now to the Stellantis CEO, the Spanish guy, Carlos Tavares, who didn't understand his product at all, launched a Challenger in electric that nobody wants. What's it called now? Sorry, a Charger in electric that nobody wants. Makes all the noise, and the product is, sitting in the showrooms languishing. They can't move anything. Jeeps, trucks, it doesn't matter. They're all suffering. So you could have Carlos Tavares or you could have Jim Farley, and he seems like an interesting guy, a real car dude.
Yep.
And let's have a Canadian shout out for the boys at Multimatic who are actually building that car.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up in Vaughan there. And it makes me wonder, I don't know what it's going to price out in Canadian dollars, but it does make me wonder if it's a profitable endeavor for them to, shop out a construction of a car, an entire design process, an entire, construction method, and then still be able to retail it and hopefully make money. I don't know. Maybe they're planning on selling some, you can't see me, but I'm air quoting pre-owned vehicles at double the price. I don't know. Just thinking out loud.
At the end of the day, they just want to sell Mustangs, not necessarily GTDs or Dark Horses or whatever. So they're going to sell Mustangs.
The concept of the halo.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
And
that's interesting.
And it might be, something to go back to. We're building all these hybrids and EVs with the Mach-E. We haven't left the track, boys.
Yeah.
I think because Multimatic also built
The GT.
the
The
current
GT.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, which only wrapped, I think, in the last year. Maybe they built it for a while.
Yeah. And I was at the North American International Auto Show when that launched. It was in that fantastic blue color.
Okay.
And I just remember looking down and thinking, it has these massive buttresses, right? I mean, you can see right through the car.
Yeah.
And it seems to me at the time, they said, we'll lose money on every single one of these. They won't make the money back. And maybe they did now because the production ran pretty long, to your point.
Right.
But I mean, really, they wanted to homologate it for racing, and they did that. And so maybe it's the same with this. It'd be interesting. But to your point, do you make enough money on a GTD to cover the development and the costs?
I have
maybe
no idea.
That's probably not the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
We'll
Interesting.
follow up on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I won't say the person's name, but I'm fairly convinced I know a guy that's going to get one. And I mean, he's just had every Ford, so I got to figure it's logical. This is he's on the list, I'm gonna guess he isn't gonna drive it, but we'll get a chance probably to see it because he's a really nice guy and he likes to show off his stuff. Nice. But he won't put any high miles on a car. Anyway, it's something to think about. We'll loop back around on that.
Should we do one last thing, guys?
Yeah.
For your money, GT3 RS, GTD.
Oh, maybe another poll for this week.
Maybe another
could be a poll. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna write that down. I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. Well, Mike, you got to answer that. Or you want us to answer first?
I'm GTD all the way.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Being a Porsche guy, I like the Mustang. I like where they're going with this thing, and it's not overdone. The GT3 RS is getting to be overdone as far as I'm concerned. It's got that huge obnoxious wing on the back, which helps in aero, but not great for driving down the street.
That's true. I will say this is, I thought for about half a millisecond last week's poll, I knew my answer, but I'm still thinking here. But I think, gun to head, I would probably pick the GT3 RS. But the Ford is an appealing product, no doubt.
Yeah. Dylan?
Yeah, I don't know. I might side with Ford here. I think it's just so much different. Like you're not going to see one. How many 3RSs do you see at the Cars and Coffee?
You see them all.
Yeah. You've seen one, you see them all.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 there all the time. GTD, yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
you're not finding another one.
I totally agree. How many are they supposed to build? We didn't even talk about that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to assume super limited.
Yeah.
300.
What the listener can't see is that we're already writing down a map for next week that we're going to move Mike to another room, and he's going to have to call in for this. And I don't want to commit to one, Sean. Maybe I'll answer my poll when I put it up.
Yeah,
I don't want to commit to one, but my honest kind of reaction to GT3 RS is I always think the wing just looks a bit silly.
It does.
I struggle with it as much as in person I think it's well executed and it looks good, but in any photograph I just think it looks silly. It's a polite word of I just think it looks weird.
Yep.
It's a fair point. I think I would have a massive sort of inferiority complex or something, whatever the right term is, if I drove one of those and parked it and got out of it and people looked at you and like, wow. But I don't think that would exist in the Mustang. People would be like, wow, cool car, Mustang. It doesn't have that same sort of over the topness, I guess, that you mentioned, Mike.
I would agree.
Yeah, and this is true. Like, I mean, we've talked about it before. Whether you drive a $20,000 Porsche or a $300,000 Porsche, people just think, oh, it's a Porsche.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's got to be expensive.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the kind of solution for looking cool getting out of a GT3 RS specifically is you want to get out, you want to have a greasy bag of McDonald's in your hand, and you want to drop it on the wing and tear it open and pour out some French fries and just act like you don't care, even though inside it's stressing you out and you're damaging your PPF and you're worried about it. I want to meet
that guy.
Well, I think we all wouldn't mind being that guy. Yeah. Okay, let's go to obviously far more pertinent, critical information. Mike's going to give us an update on his heated steering wheel debacle with his new Cayenne, his 957.
Very critical. Thanks for everyone for the DMs and emails, the call-ins, for helping me out on this one. But the steering wheel comes on automatically, I found out, when the temperature is below a certain degree, the outside temperature, and the engine temperature, and then the fan has to be at a certain setting as well.
Wow.
Once it reaches those, it will shut itself off. So
what happens to this thing when it reaches 88 miles per hour?
Well, you got to find out. I haven't got it going that fast.
You're going to see some serious something? Is that the line?
I can't remember, to be honest with you.
Trying to keep it family friendly here.
So Porsche thinks that it's an inconvenience to have to turn it on and off, so they just automated it all? Is that what
in the 957? I guess they did, yeah.
I didn't know that.
There wasn't room for one more button?
One more button, no.
Well,
makes sense.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing, though, is if it was 3.9 degrees outside, just below the 4-degree threshold,
it wouldn't come on.
Your hands would be scorching, and that's,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or if you're like my wife and you need that heat on all the time, there's no way to do it when it's 10 degrees above freezing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you do want to drive for 3 hours with the heated steering wheel on, to your point, like if you've got the fan down to 1, it shuts itself off.
That's right.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So you can turn it down to 1 at any exterior temperature and it'll still go off.
Yeah, that's a good. I don't know yet.
Oh,
We're going to find out. Stay tuned for more.
You see, we're all learning together. This is a really educational conversation, I think.
This sounds like another one of those, a solution for a problem that didn't really exist.
Yeah. Sounds like the Germans. Yeah.
Who I think are the people who created the powered louvers in, you have to use a screen to direct where the airflow goes in your Panamera. I think
Right.
That was the problem that
Yeah.
also didn't exist.
Is that a current thing that's happening?
Yeah, I believe it's
boy.
still a thing.
Yeah, that does not interest me.
It's way overcomplicated and way
Interesting.
engineered.
What we're not telling you in the background is Sean's been sending me link after link after link for 958s that are for sale. So he's
Maybe that's the next step.
Yeah, he's had a little sip of the Kool-Aid. So
They do have a button on the 958 for the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, worth it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
see,
yeah.
now, I mean, it is a problem.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the one that just popped up, which I was looking at in dark blue metallic GTS.
Beautiful car.
Yeah, it was nice.
We all
Yeah.
agree you should buy.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Thankfully, the gentleman posted a couple of videos, and it has, as Oatman, I think, aptly said, all of them have lived a life, and most have been abused.
Yeah.
It has very, very bad curb rash on 3 of the 4 wheels. It has scratches all down the passenger side. The front fender has been dinged. So, yeah.
Don't look too closely at mine.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Maybe don't look too closely at his either.
Don't look it closely at all. I'll drive by at 88.
While we're all talking about our SUVs, I feel we really need to shout out Dylan here for it's what's the temperature outside? 0-ish?
Zero-ish.
Some snow
Yeah,
on the
0
side of the
Celsius.
road. It's cold. It's winter. It's December in Canada, and Dylan drove his 996 here in the dark with 2000 era headlights, which was like sort of Mazda 3-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I was thinking that on the way here. This is a dark car inside. Like, I think you're just so used to those little LEDs now.
Yeah.
And they have the orange back glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like inside, all you have is speedometer.
You don't
Tack.
you don't have LED mood lighting?
I have no LED mood lighting.
Do you even have a stereo today? Do you have radio? I can't remember.
Yeah. No.
Okay,
A
okay.
quick reset. Fixed all of
Right.
that.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
reset
Just
of the
turn it off and
battery.
turn it on.
Turn it off. Turn
Yeah,
it back on.
yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
golden.
Yeah, sounds
Engine
good.
lights on, so that provides a lot of light.
Yeah.
But you know,
sure.
Gives a
it's
nice-
20 years
get
old.
used
You're
to
not
it.
getting rid of that.
No.
Gives a nice yellow glow to
Yeah,
the evening.
exactly.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Well, anyway, shout out to Dylan. That's impressive. The rest of us
Absolutely.
are, we can go and look at ours in the garage, but
Mine's meant to drive. It's fine.
yeah, I consider my GT4 to be art in the winter. You can't touch it, but you can look at it. It's
Delicious.
not covered. Anyway, let's talk about a conversation we've been having over the last few days about a YouTuber that I have been watching for probably a year. I don't know exactly. But he seems to come and go a little bit, but a guy that I sent to the group and thought we should talk about, which is this guy called Home Built by Jeff on YouTube. And I wouldn't let the name fool you. He's clearly talented, and he's clearly got an eye for detail. I'm not an Alfa Romeo expert. I think the car he's working on is a 105. It's sort of a little Giulia type coupe thing. It's painted yellow, and what makes this particular car special, and I can't recommend watching it enough, is he's installed a 360 Ferrari 360 Modena drivetrain and gearbox, and I find this. As a guy who really appreciates this kind of stuff, it's really amazing what people can do literally in a garage.
Yeah.
I think he's gone quiet over the past few months because it's been winter in Australia, so he's probably been working on the car. And there's some interesting things that are happening to the car, but it's worth a conversation because I do love a vintage Alpha. I remember the Top Gear. You know, we've had a great day because we have Alphas, even though they're entirely unreliable and useless. But they're beautiful. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I'm not up to date as much as you are. I
Yeah.
did watch a couple of his videos. I think it's a great looking car.
Yeah.
For what he's done in his garage, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting with that Ferrari motor in it.
Yeah, and the recent video is it's I know nothing about this, but he's driving it along, and as soon as he it's under load, the gear lever will stay in gear, but if he starts to kind of let off, it'll pop out. I don't know what that would mean, but I'm genuinely, I don't know you, Jeff, but genuinely, I'm very impressed, even with the gear popping out or the gear lever popping out. It's a pretty badass car.
Yeah.
I don't know what horsepower is in a Ferrari 360. Would they be around 350, 400?
I
Somewhere
would say
there?
in that range.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot in a small vintage car.
And I mean, Seen Through Glass had a 360 CS, has a CS now. He had a regular one, and it was a 6-speed. And I mean, the line was it made a lot of noise and didn't go very fast. But I agree. I think it's between 3 and 350 and 400 horsepower in an Alpha that weighs nothing.
Yeah.
I did pick up a couple of episodes, and to your point, like the guy is clearly quite talented.
Yeah.
It was entertaining to watch. He's got a lot of troubleshooting to do. But, I'm in. I'm going to definitely try and catch up on the whole build series and see what's going on. To your earlier point, I do have a friend in town who has I actually don't even know if it's a GTA or a Julia or whatever that is, but it's a red Alpha from about that era.
Is this the guy that rolls around with the racing seats in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that car.
yes.
That's a pretty car.
It's for sale.
Not to get too down in the weeds and local, but in our little town, it's not very often you come across a Julia.
You don't see them. And he bought it out west. He's had it for a couple of years. And again, he said for the most part he loves it, but just looking for a change. And yeah, I mean, I think it just looks badass. Like,
sure does. I totally agree.
If you get up close to it, you know, the windows don't seal 100% and you wash it and it leaks. And I mean, it is an Alpha. All the things you hear are probably true. But I mean, hey, it looks great and it sounds good.
Has he had that for a long time?
A couple years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have seen him. He's driven it to different events I've been to.
Yeah, he's been to Cars and Coffee, various different things. So yeah.
But he's trying to sell it, you said?
Yeah, he's probably going to dip his toe in the Porsche world. So
Interesting.
yes.
Well, I mean, we might know some guys that could, I don't know, guide his wallet in the
We're great at that.
an estimation of the right direction.
Don't worry, I've been trying hard.
What is he looking at? Hit us.
He's always wanted a 911.
Oh.
His dad was a 911 guy growing up, I guess. So he was thinking G-body, but I think he's now sort of landed on...
My kind of guy.
Absolutely.
Right, I agree. I think that he's going to probably land in the 997 space somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
C4S probably.
Yeah.
Or just a 4. But anyways, he wants to sort of just have it all year round. Again, he's not going to baby it. Use it for special occasions and not store it. So we'll see.
I don't know this guy, but at this point, I'm thinking he's going to be saying thanks for spending 2 minutes talking about him on a random podcast. Sure. You're going to want to share this to him, so he knows. We're getting pretty in the weeds, but I like it.
We're going to find him something.
Yeah,
996, 997. I think that's where to land.
My first Porsche experience ever was driving a 997 C2S. It's a real formative memory for me. It's an amazing car. I was very lucky that a client of mine let me borrow the car for a day, and I mean, let's just be honest. If I probably wouldn't have let my sales guy borrow it, but he let me take it, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a rainy day. I told him it was going to rain. He told me it had wipers, and that's what they were for. Perfect. It's a really great memory. 997s. I think it's a great car. A friend of ours has a 997 C2. He's been slowly restoring it. It's I think he bought it as a bit of a rat's nest, and has been slowly restoring it. And I find it a very good looking car.
It looks
even though
really
it's a
good.
little rough.
He's done great so
Great,
far.
done a great job on it. Right?
Shout out, Brad. Yeah, a beautiful car. He's working on it hard. But Brad's also our private mechanic for helping us out whenever we can't do
My
something.
957 is going to be seeing a lot of them.
And you told us last week what it needs, so nothing's changed since then.
Nothing's changed since then. Still the same.
Got it.
Well, that's pretty good. You're another week down.
I
Nothing
know.
wrong.
I know. Right?
And you've been driving it, so
And
that is
I've been driving it.
yeah.
And should we shout out the wife took it
You
on
need
her
to,
own
yes. Yeah.
today? That's pretty, that's interesting.
That is a turn
I
of
got home
events.
from work and she had been out in the Cayenne on her own. Got a, big turn of events.
I think that might deserve a round of applause.
I think it does.
I think so.
I'm going to hold that one. That feels good.
She's going to appreciate
I feel good
She'll
about that.
appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we can cut it off.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, Mike. That feels like a big swing.
I think that's a win.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, Al Ferrari, home built by Jeff. If you're on YouTube, check him out. I don't know him. I'm not. There's no incentive for us to pitch him, but I just thought the guy's work is impressive.
Yeah, he's got great Porsche series.
Yeah. Okay. So because you said he built a Porsche, and I didn't even know him then.
Yeah.
What was it?
I think he made it a backdated RSR.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember now. God, it's got to be 2 years ago now at least.
Okay.
I watched that whole series.
Yeah.
Incredible thing about him is he can do everything on the car himself.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah.
Unbelievable paint work. His body work is, I mean, from what you can see, it looks great.
Yeah.
Interior stitches it all himself. Like it's unbelievable.
Interior,
Like
Alpha
I couldn't
was
do that.
Impressive.
It is. Yeah. It looks almost like a baseball glove kind of color. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
I
it
think
does
it
the
looks
whole roll
really
cage,
great.
wraps a roll cage.
Yeah.
It's, amazing.
And I think that car didn't start life yellow. I'm not even sure they were available yellow. I think he's painted it in the Ferrari the name of the yellow is going to elude me, but I'm sure it's a Ferrari yellow. Yeah. And he actually painted the Ferrari kind of iconic thing is that crinkle red intake manifold.
Yep.
And he's painted that yellow to match the car, which I think looks really cool. Those little touches.
I think it's either fly yellow or giallo.
See, I was thinking it was one of those. I just didn't want to go on a limb. But now that you have, I'm happy to put you out on
Italian. It has an Italian name. I think it's anyway.
Yeah, it's impressive. Anyway, next subject we want to talk about is I don't remember the release of the car, but there was lots of conversation over the last few months, and we thought it was worth maybe just a quick touch. We all know who Richard Tuthill is. I mean, I've kind of known him from the rally world before, and I always knew him in the rally world. He was definitely, I think he was a rally driver or co-driver. Yep. And I knew him sort of as a 911 builder, and, he was building toys and fun things, and he worked on that Singer / Tuthill one-off crazy car that I can't remember. Porsche got involved and pulled it back. I don't remember the model.
They got in a lot of trouble for that.
Yeah, I think they maybe built one, and then there might have been a second mule, maybe. But I think the car's owned by a collector now, and it can't effectively. It just can't be registered or marketed. But anyway, he I think sort of stunned the car world last year when you'll all remember there was this picture that went around at the LAX tarmac of a car wrapped coming off a plane, and it was this new to us in conversation Tuthill GT1, which is I guess the modern interpretation of the late 90s 911 GT1 based on a 996.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, which I think is a really amazing car. Anyway, I thought it was worth a conversation, and I think the grander conversation is what do we think of these sort of boutique I don't want to call it one-off, but it's a boutique-y build stuff. And I think we all would agree. We can ask if we really need to, but I think we all agree we like Singers, and in general, we think they're pretty cool.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to be candid. 100%. I'm not sure about this one.
I'd agree with you there.
Yep.
I don't know. Overdone? Too expensive?
Know. Too long in the oven? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. It does have it's a 6-cylinder car. It's non-turbo or turbo, available with a dual clutch automatic or a manual.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, credit to them for being able to offer the package.
Correct.
I worry sometimes if you don't focus on one, let's call it method or model, you start blurring a little bit and you start getting lower quality. It's a concern. You want to be really good at one thing, I think not only okay at two.
Are you concerned at this level, though?
I don't know. And when you're spending $500,000 on this car...
No.
Is it more than that?
Million.
I was going to say
$2
it's
million.
gotta be
I'm
way
sorry.
more than that.
I'm sorry, fellas. I'm sorry. That was a gross miscalculation. $2 million. Okay, when I'm spending that kind of money, it would stress me out.
I believe they are building these to, once they're sold.
Yeah, okay. They're probably
not
out.
They're not producing.
Oh, yeah.
They are.
That makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah.
So
the number was,
22 of them.
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
And he didn't know how many were going to be manual or automatic.
Right.
And I believe the base, if you want to call it that, the base drivetrain is GT4 RS.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Flat 6 PDK, I believe. To your point, I think you can go turbo, and I don't know exactly what that package is, but I tend to agree. For whatever reason, the looks and overall the package doesn't appeal to me. Mm-hmm. But if you compare it to something if the question is, what do we think about these aftermarket sort of restoration, hot rodding, whatever they are?
That is the question.
Yeah.
For example, a Gunther Works does absolutely nothing for me. I don't know why.
That's a hot take with Sean.
Maybe that's
hot take.
controversial.
Hot take.
I just do not care.
We're going to go around the table after you finish that thought.
Sure.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and I think it largely has to do with Tuthill, the fact that he is a racer, he is like a connoisseur of 911s. He's built these cool 70s, be it safaris, be it rally cars, be it that sort of Singer project that he did. I just, for whatever reason, I think it's cool. His brand is cool. Again, the GT1 thing isn't really that appealing to me, but overall, I think almost everything he touches turns to gold, and so I think he'll do fine.
Is he the on shoes of the car world?
I think he might be.
Oh boy. Better check the front hall. I'm not sure. Is anybody wearing on shoes today?
No, not today.
Okay, good. Well, they can't be that cool. All right, let's go around the table on Gunther Works, because that you did touch a hot button there. Dylan's he has a face. He's making a face.
Very deep in thought.
Yeah. I'm prepared to answer first if you need time.
No, I guess I'm just proposing a question.
Okay.
what is really the difference between the Singer and Gunther Works that you don't like the Gunther Works?
I think for me, the Gunther Works is too much of a departure from what the 911 is. Like a Singer is like, you know, it's stretched, it's pulled, it's tugged, but it still looks like a vintage 911. And it's still got, I don't know, pretty much, and like even when you open the engine bay, like you can tell like this isn't from the 70s, but it also doesn't look like it's from 2024 either. The Gunther Works is just, I mean, again, I think his background is in carbon fiber and special materials. So I think he, you know, that tends to be where he goes with these things, but it just looks like, you know, he's aiming for a car that would fit in 2050 and it's still a 993. So I don't know. That's, again, this is all about personal taste. Let's be clear. Can't afford any of them. We'll probably never be able to. So this is purely opinion, but I think that's kind of why for me.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah,
you guys think that?
Yeah, I mean the guy. Maybe just to populate some information there, the guy's Peter Nam from Vorsteiner.
Correct.
So his whole business is making carbon fiber body parts, and hot take with Ryan, I don't like the car at all either. And I've seen multiple of them in person. I was lucky enough to go to Air Water last year. Does exactly nothing for me. Nothing. I'm impressed with the quality. I would never question that. It's just a looks thing. Does nothing.
We didn't rehearse this, but I'm shocked to hear that somewhat. I didn't know that.
Does nothing. And I have to be fair here.
You're very OEM plus, though.
I am. Yeah, I definitely fall in that category. And I have to be fair and tell you that I'm falling out of love a little bit with Singer. I think in 2016 when I first saw one, I couldn't contain my excitement, and it's fading for me a little bit. Every time I see another spec, they're launching another car, I'm like, cool. You know, it's just another one. And when we were at Air Water, Mike was with me. I mean, there was a field of Singers. Maybe there was 5. I'm not sure. There was more than I'd ever seen in one.
Sure.
Yeah, and one was, forgive me, guys. One was a turbo. One was a classic. One was the race car sort of 963 type thing that they had there. None of this did anything for me. But the one that stood out the most for being terrible was the Canadian. I think it's the Saputo family who spec'd that bright pink DLS, and it was delivered through FAF in Toronto. I mean, you literally could not have killed my buzz more. It's just an awful car. I was like, people were dying over this thing, and I just didn't get it. I was like, I'm not sure why everyone's desperate to get a photo of this. It's just awful.
Is it actually? I haven't seen it in person. Is it actually bright pink, or is
it's
it
like
because he's red,
Barbie-ish pink?
Barbie pink.
Really?
Yeah,
Bubblegum pink.
Yeah, it's it's something. I mean, the DLS is incredible, and we've all been lucky enough to spend time around one, and we get that.
Yeah.
Shout out to our good friend who has one and drives it and uses it. And this one, I'm not sure has any miles. Struck me that it might have been put on a truck, dropped off on some grass, and then put back on a truck. But I don't think the original owner owns it anymore, so I don't feel that I need to be too delicate about the original name. I think it was the dairy family or the grocery family that built the car, and it was sold instantly to someone else.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, what thoughts on Gunther Works, Mike?
Yeah, I like all these off-brand manufacturers, the Singers and Cage Motor Works and those guys. Gunther Works, it doesn't really do it for me. Neither does this new, not even the DLS so much. Classic Singer, love it. Mm-hmm. So we're going too far away from the original, what Porsche was meant to be.
Yeah, interesting.
Took a left turn there, but
that's okay.
Went from Tut Hill, and then all of a sudden Gunther Works took a hit.
Yeah. I think the people that are listening to our podcast will fully understand where car conversation can take you. Yeah. It pulls you left and right, and I think the whole idea with this conversation, the four of us, was to naturally have a conversation, and I think we're falling right into that window. Yeah. Anyway, something interesting. I maybe while we've kind of poo-pooed on the GT1. I do want to comment on Tut Hill's 911K, the 11,000 RPM race car that he did, that really lightweight 70s 911 crazy thing. Honestly, that thing is right up my alley.
Yeah,
that car is incredible.
That's awesome.
I can't stand the vintage era steering wheel that they just kind of replicated in carbon. But it's nothing for me. I would have just who cares? I'll take the extra pound and a half. Give me a regular steering wheel. Yeah. But I think the car is incredible, and it does sound like I'm getting a.
Just sounds so good too.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the video with him and Chris Harris where he's driving it like
Flying
an
it around.
absolute hooligan.
Yeah.
I mean, it is good fun.
Yeah, and it's spewing fire and burning the rear bumper. That's a dream, man. How cool is that?
So, keen listeners will probably know this, but I only recently figured this out. But the actual name itself, 911K, is because that car was commissioned for one individual whose last name, I believe, starts with K. So that's the whole thing. The guy's name is Phil.
Oh, I think I might have saw him on Instagram. Is he driving the gold car?
Yeah, so he was in California actually around the time of Car Week when you guys, or sorry, you went to Airwater, but
yeah.
Car Week was not that far.
I'm sure
after.
I saw photos of it. Yeah.
So yeah, it was his brainchild, and I mean now he's making however many of them they make. But I mean the guy is a bazillionaire, and he's just gone to Tuttle and said, "Hey, can you make a 911 that revs to 11,000 and is light?" And that's the product. So.
Yeah.
That car that you saw in that video was his customer car. And I guess he's actually dialed it back a little bit since then. So the video you see where it's spitting flames and burning the bumper off, and it's just, he said it was actually even too loud for him. So it's a little bit more reserved now, but it's obviously still a wild beast.
What is that car worth? Do we know that?
No, I don't.
It strikes me like it would be a $400,000 to £500,000.
Probably. Yeah.
Probably.
I do think that it is just delicious. There's no question.
Yeah, it'd be quite the experience.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I do recall, is that the car that has the weird reverse kind of lockout thing? They have to do something different with reverse. They have to move the handbrake to put the car, because the gearbox is lightweight. They had to separate the reverse gear out of the gearbox.
I don't know.
Interesting.
That.
I didn't catch that.
No.
I'm
me
pretty
either.
sure that's the car.
Okay.
And you have to there's a different lever where it's actually outside the gearbox in an effort to lighten the gearbox even farther. So it requires like a literal clutch down manual movement outside the box.
Interesting. It has a hydraulic handbrake, but that has nothing to do with.
I do recall Richard sliding it around. That's pretty cool. I recognize fully that while we're having these conversations, these are new conversations for us, but this is old news. I don't care.
Yeah.
We can relive the awesome stuff.
We'll remind you.
Yeah, I think it's worth going down that path. The GT1, the 911K, they're all worth having a conversation about.
Anytime.
Yeah, certainly interesting. Anyway, we'll put a poll up on, I think it's worth a conversation on GTD versus GT3 RS.
I think so.
Yeah, considering the feedback we got off the last one,
Yeah.
I think we might be surprised again.
I think so.
Hard to say. Anything else you want to drop in this conversation? Big plans for the week? Anything special? Any car stuff?
Just waiting, counting down the days. How many more days till spring? 90 something?
I don't know. I haven't checked. Is it about 90 something?
Something like that. Somebody told me recently it was 100 days till spring. So
I kind of
That
feel
sounds
like,
like too many.
yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like once I get to March 1st,
That's
the
day.
daylight gets a little nice. Or what is it? The second week of March when we have time change?
Yeah.
Whatever that is. You start to get those longer days, a little bit more sunlight during the day, a little more daylight. That starts to get me the feels, I drove the Cayenne a whole bunch over the last couple of days, and even though I've been trying my best not to drive it on snowy and disgusting roads, I did a little suburban crawling today in some sketchy parking lots behind the sandwich shop, and only just some oil and some potholes, but you got to take the off-road adventure when you get it, where you can get it.
That's right.
Now let's do a quick fit check for Sean. He's not wearing all green today.
No, I was absolutely destroyed after the last comment, so I've been very careful to avoid.
You're wearing all gray.
In fact, yeah. Thank you for pointing that out.
Except the headphones.
Yeah, the headphones don't line up.
the green
Yeah.
headphones on again.
Yeah. I thought you needed a fit check. It's important. We're gonna
It is.
keep
Yeah.
making sure we're on that.
I like your hat though.
Thanks, buddy. Oh yeah, he's got this. So Dylan has the same one on. Thank you. He just didn't.
Did we
color
just notice that?
coordinate.
Now I think we watched that in real time, Mike.
I think we did.
Isn't it funny that the two dudes
just
with
became-
hair are wearing hats?
It is.
And the
funny
two
how
bald guys are not.
life's not
Interesting.
fair. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I buzzed mine today. Thanks, fellas. Thanks for noticing. I really appreciate it. I feel loved in this
I think
room.
we should get matching hats for next week.
I've got one right there. I'm staring at my 000 hat on the other table. Anyway, thanks again for listening. We'll post this at the end of the week, and I'm sure you'll hear from us again in the next weeks.
Yeah. Please follow us on Instagram and Spotify.
Yes, that's true. We are posting on Spotify. I'm not sure we're feeding to any other sources yet, but
Yet.
Spotify for now, and we'll post on Instagram. We'll tag it. We'll make
At
sure everyone's
Dashboard Pod.
at Dashboard Pod. Good enough?
Great.
Bye-bye.
Perfect.
Say bye fellas.
See ya.
See you later.